we played half-ball by the old Wiggy's wall, watched movies at the Hippie under the elm.
Hi, welcome to Charlestown and Beyond. I'm your host, Kathy Cookie Giordano. It's really a pleasure for me to be here with you. Excuse me. Not for nothing, but we are into spring by the calendar. Today, we have promise of snow showers, and it's 37 degrees. It is Boston. It is New England. I don't know if how many of you got to watch the marathon, Boston Marathon last Monday, but those poor runners, those poor souls running in that horrendous rain. And it's credit to every one of them, from the winners to the one, I think the last one came in around midnight. So God love them all. They did a wonderful job. But you know, the same day that Patriots Day is celebrated in Charlestown by the annual run of Paul Revere. He comes over the North Washington Street Bridge, the Charlestown Bridge, goes through City Square, down Warren Street, Main, and out through Sullivan Square and onward, telling everybody that the British are coming. Well, the weather was so bad this past Monday, this sounds like an intro to a Johnny Carson joke, that they had to cancel Paul Revere's ride. I don't ever remember that happening in the past, but it was torrential rainstorms, and it was windy and, excuse me, cold. It was just awful. But, we travel on, and we are always hopeful that spring will eventually come. I have to thank you viewers for contacting me. It's so overwhelming. It's so nice to get comments when I'm walking about different things on the show, for people to react to things I'm talking about and giving me their views, and the emails that I've been getting. And I encourage you to keep on getting a hold of me. And if you know someone who doesn't live in Boston and can't watch the show when it's on, you could send me your email, their email, and I'll be glad to send a copy of the show out to them. I usually do it the day after the show appears. So let me know. My email address is Kathy, Kathy .gio46 @gmail.com. Let me know. I'd be glad to do that. And spread the word. Let everyone know what's going on here. I love Charlestown. You love Charlestown. Let's let everyone know how fantastic the town is. Okay, I got some trivia photos. Thanks again to Robbie Marcella. He's a great photographer, along with being a fantastic chef. But today, he sent me this week 3 photos, and I'm going to show one. So trivia. Okay, let's look at this, the first show. All right, can you tell where this is? Okay, I'll let you know. It's Bunker Hill Street. There in the bottom left is the Carr's Funeral Home. And all the way up at the top on the middle is St. Francis de Sales Church. Can you see that? Isn't that a great photo? I don't know where he was when he took this photo, but it is absolutely tremendous. So now the next photo, this is Winthrop Street coming down from the monument. This would be, the person taken, well, Robbie, would be at the training field in Winthrop Square, as they call it now. So that, again, is a beautiful photo. And when I used to narrate the parade, that's where we would be situated, right at that spot, watching the parade come down the hill. And now we have a third photo, and this is going to be the question of the show. That's downtown Boston in the background, and parts of Cambridge on the right-hand side. Where is this photograph taken from? Can you figure it out? So at the end of the show, we'll come back and we'll try to guess, okay? So let's carry on. You know, in the Patriot Bridge recently, Seth Daniels did an article about the old potato sheds in Charlestown, and it was a great article. And it made me think, he showed the memorial that was put down there, honoring, there it is, Look at that. There's 4 bags of potatoes, and the top bag is opened with the potatoes coming out. And don't they really look like potatoes? Isn't that a great photo? You can see, I found it. There it is. It was hard to find, but took a photograph of it. And it is really hidden away. And after finding this, and Sal Giarratani has had an article in the Patriot Bridge about the potato sheds. So I asked Sal, my man on the street, if he'd come on and appear on this week's show. And here he is. Here's Sal Giarratani.
All right. So here we are at the Charlestown Potato Shed Monument that was built at some point, none of us know when, because we only recently found out about it. But this was the potato sheds. We are in the potato sheds. Over there where Old Sully's was, if you go straight out, that's where my uncle's shed was. And then there was this whole street inside here with sheds. And they were all connected, and they went straight up to the YMCA beyond you over there. I can only tell the sheds from 2 places. Old Sully's, where it was, and Boston Sand and Gravel. It was in between both things. There was no highway, so it was a lot quieter than it is right now. And it's amazing how much has changed. But when both Cookie and I found out after reading the article in the Charlestown Patriot Bridge about this monument, we tried to figure out who sees it here. This is a monument people in Charlestown should know about. It was about an economic center of Charlestown. It was a job employment place. More people in Charlestown used to work here growing up. That's how my uncle ended up buying this shed. He worked for a guy when he was in college. When he graduated, and the guy, his name was Ward, when he retired, my uncle bought out his business and kept the name F.J. Ward because it had a name. But my uncle's name was Jim Callahan. He wasn't going to call it Callahan's potatoes because nobody would know who they were. And I remember years when I was a kid, we would come to visit my uncle, and we always went home to Thompson Square and the elevator, with bags of potatoes. We never left Charlestown empty-handed. We always had potatoes. And then we would just walk to Thompson Square, and people would be all looking at us. Why were we all carrying bags of potatoes? But we had a reason. We had an inn inside the potato sheds, so we were never hungry. But I remember the fire too, because we're coming up to the anniversary really soon. It was May 10th, 1962. I was 14 years old, which tells you how old I am now. It was an amazing fire. A friend of mine gave me a photograph of it. I remember what it looked like afterwards. It looked like like an earthquake had hit Charlestown. It was horrible. I think it was an 8-alarm fire, or it was the biggest fire, most alarms you could have for a fire. And it went on for a long time, and it actually took out the top floor of Old Sully's. Old Sully's now is 3 stories. The condos are now going to be 3 stories. The building used to be 3 stories a long time ago. After the fire, it became 2 stories. A lot of people in Charlestown don't even know. A lot of people think it was always 2 stories, but it wasn't. But the wall over there on Line Street is the actual separation of the Charlestown neighborhood from the sheds. And it ran further up. Rutherford Avenue wasn't here. It was on the other side by St. John's Church. And when they remodeled it, it was also built over the sheds. So this parking lot for the college is the sheds. Line Street tells you where the sheds were. And in Charlestown, back then, I remember this being a very active place. And I'm glad that we found this thing, and maybe we can do something with it.
That was Sal. He's great. He'll be back on a future show with some other subject. He's always has a point of view and always most interesting. Well, going back to, not for nothing, but have you heard? Here's a have you heard. There was a meeting last week that I attended about, it was with the, it was about the North Washington Street Bridge, and the state was there and the city was there, and they made a presentation about what was going to be taking place on the North Washington Street Bridge. And now, mind you, they're talking about the bridge going into the north end, but the work has already started on the Tobin Bridge, both north and southbound. It's already started on the Gilmore Bridge, what used to be known as the Prison Point Bridge, leading into Cambridge. They're going to start the work on the North Washington Street Bridge, they said, in late spring. And they're starting in late fall on the Alfred Street Bridge. That's Route 99 going into Everett, Sullivan Square. Now, they're already working in Sullivan Square. They're doing work there. I can't go to all the meetings regarding Sullivan Square, and I wait until I read about it in the Patriot Bridge. But the representatives from MassDOT in the city said, well, MassDOT said it's going to be a little bit of a headache. A little bit of a headache. Okay, the hours of operation are going to be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And some of the things that they'll be doing is pile driving, putting the new girders into the ocean, into the ground. And they said once they really get working, they might do that 24 hours a day. Pile driving. You'll hear them up in Baldwin Street. Never mind the people that live close to City Square, whether they're in the Marina or the Navy Yard or all those streets surrounding City Square. They're going to really hear it. I think their houses are going to shake. But, it's only a little bit of a headache to the state. So they talked a little bit about noise mitigation, but they didn't really say what the mitigation was. They really didn't. My thoughts are common sense. What is the quality of life going to be like in Charlestown when all these bridges in Sullivan Square are being worked on at the same time? I mean, don't these people talk to each other? They were more worried about the motorists coming from the North Shore. And I got up and spoke, and I said to them, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I really don't care about the motorists from the North Shore. I care about the people that are going to have to endure this in Charlestown. So I'm calling our elected officials. I am calling on them to hold a public meeting in Charlestown to talk about the ramifications that the residents are going to have to deal with on a daily basis. We're talking public safety, ambulances, fire, police, the whole shebang, okay? We're talking quality of life. I mean, dirt, debris, pile driving. What if someone takes a heart attack or a child falls off something and gets hurt badly? How are we going to get that person, that child, to the hospital for immediate care? I don't know. I think that these issues should be addressed. And as I do every week, I am going to send a copy of the tape of the show to our elected officials, asking them, please call a public meeting in Charlestown and tell the people how the state and the city is going to protect them for the next, I think they said that the North Washington Street Bridge would go on at least until 2022. That's 4 years, maybe 5 years from now. So, if you can, call your elected official and ask them to come into town and talk with us about this. This is serious. I don't mean to be an alarmist. I'm really not. I just want the residents of Charlestown to be assured that they're going to be taken care of. So, okay, with that, Paul Lane sent me some photos a week ago, 2 weeks ago. They were on the last show. of spring, ever hopeful that spring will get here. And they were so beautiful. And I got so many remarks about Paul's gift to us that I called Paul and I said, Paul, would you come on the show and let people know who you are and what you do? And you know, Paul only does it as a hobby. Imagine a hobby. And you know, he born and brought up in Charlestown and married a Charlestown girl, raising their children here. And you know, he works full time. He's a young guy, and he just walks around. He said he brings his camera to work with him and home from work. So he always is snapping photos, and boy, does he take great photos. So with that, I want to introduce you to Paul Lane, and I want you to see some of his masterpieces. Paul?
My name is Paul Lane, and I just wanted to talk a little about Charlestown photography. I've been actively taking pictures here my whole life, but have in the last 5 or 6 years, with the encouragement of a lot of my good friends there on social media, on Facebook. I just wanted to say hi and thank you for all the encouragement. Your kind words and encouragement has really encouraged me to take a lot more Charlestown pictures and actually sell them. So I have a little photography business, and I just wanted to talk about, there's so many great pictures in Charlestown. People may see 100 pictures of the monument, but you can see it in so many different lights. And here's one of my pictures, one of my favorite is Eden Street Park early in the morning. They call this the blue hour. It's before the sun is up, and many people have asked me about this picture. You know, did you use a filter? No, that's just how it looked one special morning in Charlestown. Another black and white photography in Charlestown especially in the wintertime. I'm really fond of shooting in the snow. And this is one I took several weeks ago in this great storm that we had here, and where all the heavy snow stuck to all the trees. And this is the south side of the monument looking towards Soley Street. And that's that great tree. I think the Park Service has done such a great job in planting all those trees. It makes for a wonderful subject. I'm also starting to do some pictures in really large formats. Here is a 24 by 36 print of the monument in the winter of 2015. It's probably my most sought after picture. And we have a couple of these hanging around some of the establishments in town. One with the Warren, sitting on the mantelpiece of the Warren Tavern, and it's very dramatic. I think people who have hung it in their living rooms or in their hallways find that people are drawn right to it. This is another shot that I took of the Constitution. With it being in dry dock for so long, it's been hard to get a really good picture. But this is when it just recently came out of dry dock. It was kind of a foggy night. You can just barely see the monument over here. But what I did was I hit it with a little bit of a sepia tone, and it came out to look at maybe it could have been taken a couple hundred, 100 years or so. It's also one of my favorites. And another favorite subject of mine is the Colonel, the statue of William Prescott up at the monument. I've taken it in all kinds of light, in great brilliant sunrises. But this is one of my favorites. It's in a blowing, again, a snow picture, in a blowing snowstorm, and just with the light in the background and the snow coming down, and you can see the high school in the background. It's truly one of my favorites, and he's a great subject. He never disappoints. I'd like to thank everyone for all the kind comments on my last video of Charlestown preview of spring that Cookie showed on one of her last shows, and I'll be available on the day before the parade down at the Chamber of Commerce market. I'll have a tent, and many of these pictures you see I'll have ready for people. Or if you want to go onto my website, and I'll put the sign up here, if you can see it, Paul J. Lane Photography, and the website is Paul J. Lane Photography at zenfolio.com. And if you need to contact me, just hit contact. But there's thousands of pictures on there of Boston, Charlestown, or New England. And log in and take a look. And if you want anything, just hit contact and give me a call. Thank you.
Oh, aren't his photographs just out of this world? Now, the Chamber Fair that he was talking about will take place on Saturday, June 9th. So make it a point to go down and say hi to him. He says he goes more to say hi to his friends than he does anything else. But boy, you can look at some of the photographs that he's brought down. They, you know, up close, they are just gorgeous. And I saw the one of the monument hanging at the Warren Tavern last weekend, and it is just so beautiful right there over the fireplace. So I recommend that next time you're in there to say thank you. And while I'm talking about the Warren Tavern, I want to thank them sincerely. I was down there having dinner Sunday night, and I had a medical emergency, and they were so wonderful to me. They really took care of me, and you can see I'm fine, but they were so caring and just wonderful folks. So stop by and say hi and say, Cookie said hi. Would you do that? That would be great. So, you know, I got some good news. I get the update from Chris Breen on what's going on in Charlestown. And included in this week's was the mayor's office announced these investments will take place in Charlestown starting this year. Listen to this. This is Charlestown. Excuse me. $218 million on the North Washington Street Bridge. $2.75 million on the Gilmore Bridge. $4.76 million on Sullivan Square, Rutherford Avenue. $81.7 million on the Alfred Street Bridge. $1.4 million on the Edwards Playground, the Edwards Junior High, and $3.8 million on the Boston Fire Department Engine 50 on Winthrop Street. That's phenomenal. That is just absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Walsh. Thank you so much. This is great. You know, we're going to have a hard time living with these bridges being closed, but thank you for coming up with the money, city, state, federal, and thinking of Charlestown. And you always do, and we're so grateful for that. So let's throw back in the last trivia photograph from Robbie Marcello. And there it is. Okay, I looked at it. I asked Robbie to get back to me and tell me where was this photograph taken from. But I know he's a busy guy, and he didn't get a chance to. So all I can say is it's taken from Bunker Hill Street someplace. And on the left-hand side is Boston, and right in the middle you can see the Prue building. And on the right-hand side, I was told by David here, the director of the studio, that looks like buildings in Cambridge. So I don't know. I was trying to identify the housing that's below, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to answer your trivia question, but I promise I'll get after Robbie, and he can tell me, and I'll tell you in 2 weeks. Sorry, that's kind of a hanger. So that's it for this week's show, and I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I'll be working my part to see if we can get together that community meeting about Charlestown. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Until next time, I'm Kathy Cookie Giordano. Goodbye.
Lots of action there was nothing quite so fair as Dot's Diner in City Square.